All right, thanks for joining in, everybody. This episode, we are taking a step away from the horror world, and we're talking about another one of our favorites. And this time, it's in the action realm. We've delved into the comedy world with Strange Brew in the past, and we've, of course, have done multiple episodes on Star Wars-related movies. So this episode, we are taking a step back to the early 80s. We're talking about 1982's First Blood.
One of my all-time favorite movies.
It's so weird with First Blood because I think a lot of folks back in like the mid to late 80s probably weren't really aware of this movie. I think especially my first exposure to Rambo was Rambo First Blood Part 2. And then I can't remember the first time I saw First Blood. I know it wasn't way back in the day, but it was one of those ones where when you see like this movie, it's so different from the other ones to where you're like, whoa, that's insane. I mean, and the other ones are great, but First Blood is just an amazing movie.
First Blood for me, I remember the first time I saw it, actually. I was just a young kid, and it was actually before Rambo First Blood Part 2 came out. And First Blood was one of those films that got a whole lot of play on HBO and all the movie channels. So I remember my parents were watching it one night, and I don't even remember how old I was. I was pretty little at the time, and I'm like playing with my brother, and then like the movie caught my attention, and then I was hooked. I remember I became a huge Sylvester Stallone fan at that time. I watched the movie over and over and over and over again. We started renting it at the video store, and then like it was weird because it must have been like it must have been that following summer. I must have seen it like in the winter or spring or something, and then because that following summer was when Rambo First Blood Part 2 came out. So I'm guessing this was like 85. And then that was like massive. Like you would see like trailers for that all the time, TV spots, posters, toys. It was like everything blew up Rambo. And I remember that period of time really, really well. It was like a cultural phenomenon.
When Rambo came out, and when I say Rambo, maybe we should talk about this a little bit because in my book, this is one of the most confusing naming conventions they've ever done with any franchise. I mean, I know some of the other franchises have changed a little bit, but so the first movie in the series is First Blood, and a lot of people refer to it as Rambo or Rambo First Blood, so you had First Blood, and then you had Rambo, which was Rambo First Blood Part 2, and then you had Rambo 3. It wasn't Rambo First Blood Part 3 or whatever. Rambo Returns First Blood Part 3. But then you had Rambo 4.
Actually, just called Rambo.
Was it just called Rambo?
Just called Rambo.
Okay, so yeah, so then you had So technically, depending on who you talk to, there are 3 different movies in this franchise just to them called Rambo.
Oh yeah. So it's like, technically it's First Blood, Rambo First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3, Rambo, and now Rambo Last Blood.
It's so weird. I mean, I know like Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, Nightmare on Elm Street didn't really do it as bad as, the Friday movies did it pretty bad, and then like the Child's Play movies did it too, where it was like Child's Play Part 3, and then it was like The Seed of Chucky, and then it was The Bride of Chucky, and all those, and then, Nightmare on Elm Street was Friday the 13th was like, Friday the 13th Part 8, but then it was like Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, Freddy versus Jason, and stuff.
Yeah, they changed it up quite a bit.
They changed it up a little bit. And those, I assume that those was always due to rights when they were jumping around with the studios and stuff with those 2 movies. I would assume that's what it was, because Jason Goes to Hell and stuff, that was when they moved over to New Line and stuff. So I always kind of assumed that it was, well, the Jason stuff is a complete mess anymore anyway, still. But that's what I always assumed with those was when they left the one studio, the studio was like, yeah, you can continue to make the movies. You can't have this name, though. So I would assume that's what it was. But yeah, with Rambo, it's just weird. Because, yeah, it's First Blood, and then it was Rambo First Blood Part 2, and it's Rambo 3, and then, like you said, Rambo. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's actually kind of like, too, when you like look at the Indiana Jones movies, that they kind of changed those up where originally it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones and Last Crusade, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Well, it seems like now they like consider Raiders of the Lost Ark Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's kind of like they went with that whole that kind of concept.
So they pulled a George Lucas on that one and changed it after it came out. I see how they did
Something
that.
like that, yeah. Very interesting. So anyhow, with First Blood, yeah, if you haven't seen the film, it's definitely the most, well, I guess Rambo, the Rambo 4, which is technically just called Rambo, was a pretty intense, realistic, more realistic film. But First Blood is definitely more of a drama action about, PTSD and, a Vietnam vet coming back and how he's treated and kind of stuck with these nightmares from his experiences with war. And it's a great film, and Sylvester Stallone does a great job in the role. And it's kind of cool because he really has very little dialogue in this film. I mean, pretty much he kind of blasts it all out at the end. But throughout the whole film, it's all like body acting. He's all acting using his eyes, using his facial expressions. It's all just kind of his movements and things like that, which is kind of neat when you think of it.
The other thing with this movie, too, is this is, unlike the other ones, too, this one really isn't I don't know, it's really like an anti-war movie more than anything. Not that the other ones are like pro-war at all, but, this one isn't, he's not going into the jungle and fighting anybody or anything like that. And he's not blowing people away with the machine gun with the giant, bullet clip running through it and all that stuff. This one is it's almost more of a survivalist type of movie than anything.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And so First Blood, Rocky, there's a couple other ones that you could probably throw in there too that really show just actually how smart Sylvester Stallone is. He's not just this meathead guy out there making movies, taking his shirt off, like these guys nowadays. Sylvester Stallone co-wrote this movie. But he's really the reason why this movie even happened, because he got attached to it coming off of the success of Rocky. You watch this movie and Rocky as a double feature, and if you don't think Sylvester Stallone is a brilliant entertainer, you're a moron. I'll just say that.
And First Blood, too, that script was being passed around for a long time. I think it actually was first kind of tossed around in the 70s, and everybody kept passing on it. Nobody wanted to play the character of John Rambo, and finally got to Stallone, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And it became his second main character that he's known for in film. And Rambo's, it's a cultural icon now. Who hasn't heard of Rambo,
Yeah, right.
So, and I think too, growing up in the 80s, I guess the best way to describe, I was trying to explain this to my son, like what Rambo was like in the 80s. And probably the best thing would be what the Avengers are now. It was just this huge summer blockbuster film and everybody knew about it. And it became sort of like a running thing. Everybody would make impressions of Stallone, and everywhere you look, there was they were trying to sell you a muscle bound guy with a headband holding a machine gun, in books, magazines, video games. You look at all the old classic 80s Nintendo games and look at all the characters, and you basically see Rambo. That's what all those those action games were, all those shoot 'em up games back then. And it just kind of turned everything upside down in the 80s. That was that second movie especially, just kind of blew it up, where it became this cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, it was so weird that I don't remember what off the top of my head, I don't remember what First Blood Part 2 was rated.
Oh, that was R.
Was it R?
Yeah, every one of them was rated R.
And then, yeah, it's just so weird that spawned so much stuff for kids. Because
I know.
If it came out today, it would not be nearly as successful as it was back then. Because I'm trying to think. I mean, do they sell like Fast and Furious cars, like toys and stuff?
I have no idea.
I mean, I know they sell them, but I mean, is that something like you go into like Walmart and I don't think there's like a Fast and Furious like toy section like at Walmart.
Well, there really isn't any like the action characters aren't what they were back then.
Right.
The 80s were like a whole different breed.
Yeah.
You had Stallone, you had Schwarzenegger, and I mean these guys were like, like the superheroes of that time.
But even when you look at Schwarzenegger's movies and stuff, I mean, like look at Predator and stuff, which was huge, or even like the Terminator stuff. And again, I mean, I know that there's like some toys out there for that stuff, but there was never the mainstream stuff like there was for Rambo. Like you never had Sylvester or Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff. Like I never had an Arnold Schwarzenegger action figure of any kind when I was a kid, but I had Rambo toys.
Yeah, the Rambo, because that Rambo cartoon.
Right? Yeah, I know, but that's kind of what I'm saying. It's just weird that Rambo. Because I mean, if it came out today, it just wouldn't. Because that's the thing. Like, you're not going to have like a kid show spawn off of like Fast and Furious or something.
No, you're right. Yeah, it is different now. I think it's. It was kind of strange because that was when like. These like R-rated movies were starting to appeal to kids and started to try to like even like a year later, Aliens came out, and that was a hard R, all kinds of F-bombs and gore and all that stuff, and then late 80s, early 90s, Kenner dipped in and they started making Aliens action figures and toys, and it's kind of funny because the same toy brand that back in '79 when they released the original Alien and they were going to do Alien action figures just like the Star Wars line, parents were in an uproar like, oh, you can't do that. So they stopped it all. Thankfully, Reaction Figures, brought it all back for us a couple of years ago. But then that Alien doll that was around that 12-inch doll, that was like, that even parents had a problem with. And then the late 80s, early 90s, Kenner did a whole line on Aliens and nobody seemed to bat an eye.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And then and then Terminator toys were coming out around that time.
Were there Terminator toys?
Yeah, they weren't like, I don't think they were, I forget who made them. They definitely were Terminator toys based off of Terminator 2 because it was so big. So
that's true. Well, Terminator 2 was PG-13 though, wasn't it?
No. That was rated R.
Was it?
Yeah, that was R. And then the craziest thing though, when I look back at it, was the RoboCop toys, which my brother had. I remember. I mean, RoboCop is probably one of the goriest X-rated films ever made, and it's like they were marketing that to kids.
Oh yeah, because I couldn't tell you how many times I saw RoboCop when I was a kid.
That is a great film.
Which is again, I mean, that kind of it's weird because, I mean, I know that there's parents out there nowadays that would, but I can't imagine that if I had like a 12-year-old kid that was like, hey, I want to watch this movie. This guy gets his dick shot off. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, watch it 1,000 times. I don't care. I can't imagine that happening now. But yeah, I mean, how many times I see RoboCop?
Yeah, that was, oh man. Oh, we got to do that.
I'd buy that for $1. But yeah, and like you said, like Terminator 2, yeah, I remember when Terminator 2 came out. Did I see Terminator 2 in the theater? I might have.
Oh, you had to have. Everybody saw that in the theater.
Oh, man.
That was huge. That was massive. That was Arnold Schwarzenegger at his peak. I mean, it didn't get any bigger for him. Everything since then has been kind of downhill. But yeah, I mean, these action characters, I mean, we're talking the 80s here for you. And Rambo, he was this character we get in this movie is like, the beginning of all of this.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say too, I'm a big collector. I love to collect masks. I know in previous episodes I've talked about my Michael Myers masks I collect, and hockey masks and things like that, movie props. But another thing that I've always been fascinated in is the Rambo survival knife. And I actually have the Rambo First Blood Part 2 replica knife. And I was starting to kind of explore, like, I kind of want to get the first one now. But that first knife, it was made by knife maker Jimmy Lyle. And, I mean, I just was enamored by that
You
knife.
are such a nerd, dude.
I am a geek, total geek. And he, like, he handmade that knife, and I think he did like 12 of them or something like that. And Stallone still has like one, two, and three of that 12 line run or whatever. That first knife, like, that spawned a whole bunch of stuff, because at that time I remember after that movie came out, like, their survival knives were everywhere, and they made these real cheap ones that I remember a lot of the neighbor kids nearby would get them. They had these little crappy aluminum knives and with these big giant bulbous compasses at the end of this handle. Yep. But it was a huge thing. But that First Blood knife is awesome. It's I forget how long the knife is, but it's like wrapped in a cord, a green cord for the handle. You open up the handle. It's hollow, and it's got a survival packet in there with the thread, the needle, the fishing line, and all that stuff, and the compass underneath the butt of it. And it's got the blade with the saw on one side and the sharp blade on the on the bottom, and for the what's it called, the guard, there's a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips screwdriver. So it's a really cool knife. And
cool.
I actually have the Rambo First Blood Part 2 knife is just basically an upgraded version of it. It's bigger, and it's got a black color on the blade, and it's the handle's black, but it's very similar. And Jimmy Lyle actually made the second knife as well for the second movie. But that First Blood knife is just amazing. I mean, it's a cool knife, and there's some really good replicas right now. You can get them for like $100. A nice one from like Hollywood Replica or Hollywood, can't remember. Master Cutlery was the first company that did them, and then Hollywood Collectibles, I think. Jimmy Lyle's still out there. If you want to get one actually handmade by the guy who did them, and they're like thousands of dollars. I remember back in the day. You remember the mall that we used to go to, Lakehurst Mall, as kids? Well, there was a knife store there called Shaver's World, and it was like right on the corner. And on display, they had a First Blood knife, and it was one of the Jimmy Lyle ones. It wasn't a replica, and I just remember like always walking by and like, oh, that is so cool. And of course, I wanted one, but I never got one.
Yeah, my cousin used to have one when we were kids. I don't remember which one it was. I'm sure it was the First Blood Part 2 one. And I mean, he probably got it somewhere with. I don't even know if it was an actual like replica one, or because I remember like back in those days, like you could buy those survival knives like at Walmart and stuff, and I think that's what he had was like one of those like survival knives you got from like Kmart.
Yeah, there was a lot of like knockoffs.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the one he had was just a. Because I remember it had like a thing, the handle, it had a thing you screw. I don't remember if it had a compass on it. I just think you just unscrewed the handle, and then it had like, I remember it had like a sharpening stone in there, and it had something else in there, but there wasn't a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, the handles usually they came with matches that you can strike on anything, fishing line, fishing hooks, thread, needle, and this weird little saw thing that you would, I don't know how to explain it. Like it was like this bendy saw thing that you would use to saw things.
Yeah. Know what you're talking about. Yep.
But yeah, they had a bunch of these knockoff knives had all that stuff in there. But like my replica Rambo 2 knife has pretty much all that stuff I just mentioned, and it comes in this little like waterproof cylinder container.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, that knife is awesome. And it's kind of funny because there used to be a kid on my block who was obsessed with Rambo knives. He lived at the end of the block.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. And he would always, somehow, I don't know how he did it, some weird connections or whatever, but he always managed to get like all these knives, and he had throwing stars and butterfly knives. And I mean, it was crazy. I was like, where do you find these things?
I remember one time we were like hanging out over there, and he had throwing knives. You remember that? And he was just throwing.
Right, and he had the Rambo 3 knife, which was the biggest Rambo knife of all of them. The funniest thing is that I've always like just like the Michael Myers mask. I always like ever since I was a little kid. That's all I wanted was I just want a Michael Myers mask. I want one that looks just like the movie in the first movie. And that same thing with the Rambo knife. I always wanted a survival knife. And I remember finally, like I don't know, some time in my early 30s, I was talking to this friend. Him and I used to like talk all the time. And like this is when we grew as adults because he was a truck driver and I was in my old job. I used to drive a lot, and so we kind of just chat while driving. And he said, like, yeah, I want to start selling knives online. And he ended up buying the Rambo knives. And so I was like, what the hell? I've always wanted one. I'm just going to go buy one. So I bought my Rambo First Blood Part 2 replica straight from him for $100 even, I think it was.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool, kind of nice little connection there because it was, here's this kind of childhood friend who was like all into this stuff, and he's the guy who ends up selling me the knife. So,
interesting.
So yeah, wow, we could do a whole episode on Rambo knives now.
Well, maybe we should dive into this movie just a little bit.
Yeah, we are talking about a movie, aren't we?
So this one is really cool too because I don't know if you've ever read. Did you ever read the book?
Never read the book.
Okay, so I read the book.
Ending of the book. I know I've been spoiled with the ending. I know that it changes.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to spoil it for everybody right now too. So yeah, because I read the book for this like not that horribly long ago, like 5-10 years ago, I guess maybe now. And the book is pretty good because again, just like the movie. So like Mark was saying early on, this movie is really not it is like an action movie and it's a thriller and stuff, but unlike the other movies in the series, this really is not just a shoot-'em-up movie. This movie is really about a guy who is... the premise of the movie is John Rambo is traveling on foot to go see one of his old wartime friends, and he gets to the guy's house, and then he ends up finding out that his buddy had died from cancer from Agent Orange during the war. And then all this other shit happens after that because he ends up, this is set with... I'm assuming that the movie was supposed to be set in the 70s. But anyway, he's walking through town and then the sheriff of the town is like, hey, get the hell out of my town. And he like takes him out of town, drops him off, and Rambo comes back into town. Cop's like, what the hell, dude? I told you to get out of town. And so arrests him and all this other stuff. And then complete hell breaks loose after that. In the book... it's pretty much exactly the same storyline. The only difference is in the book, at the end of the movie, Rambo is like walking away, and then the sheriff like shoots him, I think is how he dies in the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's how he dies in the book. So he ends up like, he's like walking away and gets shot, and he just like bleeds out like in a field or something, I think is how it, if I remember right. In the original version of the film, they had him like commit suicide at the end of the movie rather than getting shot as he's getting away. From what I always heard, because I think you can kind of see that. I think I've seen it too. Like if you go on YouTube and stuff, you can see like that, like the original ending or whatever. But from what I understand, the test audiences of the movie were like, oh no, that's not how this should end. Everybody anymore, well, even back in the 80s and stuff was like, we have to have a happy ending.
Well, the ending was... it's that at the end where he's in the police station with
right.
Troutman, and then he hands Troutman a pistol to shoot him, and then Troutman ends up shooting him.
Oh, so he does. Okay, so he shoots him. He doesn't commit suicide.
No, he kind of like sort of like tries to get him to shoot him for him, and I don't. It's hard to see like when you look at the scene. It looks like he's kind of trying to get him to pull the trigger because he's holding the hand with the gun at the same time Troutman pulls the trigger. So. And they actually, if you watch Rambo 4, there's a flashback scene when Rambo's having a dream, and they show a bunch of different shots from parts 1, 2, and 3, and they actually put that scene in there in his dream, which was kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a neat little ode.
Yeah, I've seen Rambo 4 a couple of times. I haven't seen it for a while, but yeah, that's the really only difference. And then yeah, like I said, because people are pussies and they want everything to have happy endings, so yeah. They went back and they changed it, which in hindsight is probably the better thing, because if they wouldn't have changed it, then Sylvester Stallone would have went on something else. But
well, if they wouldn't have changed it, we would never be seeing Rambo The Last Blood, Sylvester Stallone, 73 years old in 2019, playing the character.
I know. Dude, I got to tell you, man, when you see these guys, the third guy that I'm going to name, a lot of people are going to be like, who? But when you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and Tom Savini in their natural whatever today, and these guys are all like in their 70s. I'm pretty sure Tom Savini's in his 70s too. They all look great. They all look better than I do. I'm 42, and I mean they're all like super fit and stuff. And I'm
Is
like,
Savini fit?
yeah, Savini is ripped.
I mean, I know Stallone's fit, but I mean he's obsessed with fitness.
Yeah, Savini's like the same. I mean, Savini's
Really?
pretty close to the same size of Stallone.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that.
it's insane.
I always just see him like as like kind of a neck up kind of thing. I never knew
he's
guy.
yeah, it's insane.
Interesting.
It must be. Well, I mean, I was gonna say it must be something like with these these Italian guys, but Schwarzenegger's not Italian. But he's the same way, dude. I mean, you see these guys and you're like, damn, if I looked that good now, I would be happy, let alone 30 years from now. What the hell?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
So-
Stallone. But yeah, so First Blood, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm going to give it a solid giant thumbs up, man. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I will always go back to it. It's I actually watched it not that long. Well, obviously, because I had to review it. That's why I watched it. But anyhow, it was great then. It was great when I was a kid. It holds up, and it's a fun, great, dramatic action movie, and you just can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna agree with me too. But this, I mean, it's not a surprise for people that know me. I mean, it's not a surprise to you either. But not only First Blood, but there are a couple of duds out there. But Sylvester Stallone is one of my favorite actors, man. He's got so many good movies. Again, he's got some crappy ones.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
stop! My mom will shoot.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, Tango and Cash is great. This is great. Rocky's great. The Cobra is right up there. For me, when it comes to Stallone movies, Rocky, First Blood, and Cobra are all three of them sit right in number one. I cannot pick between the three of them which one is my number one favorite.
I'll even toss in, this is a guilty pleasure of mine. I even enjoy Over the Top still.
Oh, yeah, that's another good. Yeah, well, I mean, they are. Yeah, it's crazy. Because, like, Tango and Cash, that was one of those ones, like, it came up, like, last year or the year before. And then I, like, jokingly, I was like, oh, let's see how much it is on VHS. And it was like, I think I got it for, like, $3 on eBay or something for a VHS. And then it came. And I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to watch it. It's going to be horrible. And I was like, oh, that's so great. Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone, like, in their prime.
In their prime. Well, yeah, towards the end of their prime, Stallone's prime. But, yeah. Oh, funny stuff.
Oh, man, it's so good. But, yeah, I will second the giant thumbs up for sure. If you've never seen First Blood, go and check it out. You can probably find it. It's got to be somewhere streaming for sure.
Oh yeah, it's on Amazon. I guarantee it.
Yeah, if not, you could probably find it on YouTube. As old as it is.
Yep, and make sure to have your Rambo knife next to you, and use the end of your Rambo knife to pop open your beer.